Hello again. Right, this morning was slightly different than normal, so I thought I'd make a video about it. And apologies for not making that many videos recently, but there's been some disruption in the house, builders and stuff, so I've not had the quiet time to make the videos without interruption. So apologies for that. Um, this morning, as I said, I started a bit earlier than normal. It was a 2 o'clock start, or just before, because I wanted to watch Donald Trump's first um, Congress talk or whatever. It was the brokers had said that it was likely to cause some sort of volatility in the markets, and to watch your spreads and watch your margins. So I thought that must be worth having a look, and only in the interests of really learning more about the effects of these things, because Brexit, I stayed up through the night on that one, and unfortunately missed a perfect setup actually that would have got me literally 1,500 pips I think on the night of Brexit, but coulda, woulda, shoulda. Not to worry about that. So I was just looking to see whether we had a similar effect on this talk of Trump's, and it did absolutely nothing. The spread widened by about 2 or 3 pips, and no movement, erratic movement of any worth or value at all. So not worth a mention really. But this morning's trade, I took advantage of this big downward movement of pound dollar, and my thought processes, and this is quite important. I've always mentioned the fact that I like this period before the Frankfurt and London Opens in any given time, day as it were, because the price does tend to drift to an area that, for whatever reason, the dealers have decided is fairly significant. And also the fact that there shouldn't really, I've mentioned this in previous videos as well, there shouldn't really be anything money wise to move the markets prior to the Frankfurt Open. It's what some call the sort of grinding and sideways period of the market. So if it's going down, then trade it down if you get the right system, method, call it what you like, set up according to our crossovers, and up if you get the right method before that. So that's my edge. That is what gives me the confidence to stick a trade on, stick the stop on, stick the take profit on, and then go back to sleep if I get a trade at 5 a.m. or whatever. So, trading profitably is all about belief in your method and confidence, in my opinion, and obviously patience and discipline, not jumping in all willy-nilly because you perhaps have missed a trade that day and want to get hold of a few pips. That is, it has been my downfall in the past, and I'm sure a lot of other people have suffered with that as well. So we can see this big downtrend going on here, and I've connected as usual, connected the highs with lower lows, making lower highs, making a lower low. I wouldn't have used this point to connect that downward descending trend line unless this low had been broken by this push down here. So that's that's very important. That's how we define a downtrend. Lower highs making lower lows. So this is a lower high that made a lower low. I hope that's clear now. Sorry if I keep repeating myself, but it is. I always found I used to get light bulb eureka moments listening to various videos and reading information on price action over and over and over again, and so that's why I keep repeating this stuff. So anyway, we have also got the last alert was a H1 to the downside around here. I got up at 2 a.m, which is 4 a.m on my charts here, so let's show you where I started watching. We can clearly see we've had a pullback to this point here, which happens to be the 124 level. I can also clearly see that we have had old support touched by this candle. This is the pullback that happened during the Trump speech, and that was touched to the pip, which I always find quite fascinating. That red candle and the wick, hopefully you can see it on the video, touched by this, or the green candle support has been tested by the red candle resistance to the pip. If we blow that up, there you can see it there and there. This is the phenomena of support becoming resistance, or demand now becoming supply. And go back to that, and we'll drill down now onto the lower time frames. Now, I entered my trade. I'll drag the trade on here. Hang on. I entered my trade during the alert candle here on the 30-minute. Now, I wasn't worried about that not having shown the alert and cancelled out this one, for the very reason that we have now got prior to that alert we had two descending 30-minute candles. So high, low, lower high, lower low on those two red candles, and I entered as a result of that, and also the fact that we were in a massive down move. It would take enormous amount of money to create an upward trend, in my opinion, and actually stop this from going to what I consider to be the correct level, which was the net. Because remember, we'd closed below this. That's also important. We closed below the 12375, so I always look for that for an entry as well. If we've broken through one of these 25 incremental levels, then I'm looking for price to potentially get down to the next level. And the thought process again in that, and why I only take 9 or 10 or 11 pips or thereabouts, between 8 and 12 pips or whatever I think I can get between these incremental levels. Remember, you have to take the spread into account. Then we were entering just below that level, so it was quite likely that it would pop down to this level, and it did. The 12350 level, you can see that it was touched to the my mouse is playing up, sorry, touched to the pip there, just went through it by a tiny amount. So set my take profit slightly above that, because we've talked about that before, where you have to actually include the spread in your take profit when you're taking a short, so add the spread to it. So always add 3 or 4 pips. So I want to take my profit at about, if in this case, if it was 12350, I want to take it at 12354 or something like that. So the trade was 11 pips net of spread today. There you can see the other reason that I felt this was worth having a go at. We've got the alert to the downside on the 15-minute chart. That's what we're on now. You can clearly see the downtrend in place here, the candlestick trend, high, low, lower, high. That was an inside bar, that one, but we had the lower high, lower low. So the minute this candle had broken the low of that one and stayed red as opposed to becoming green, then that was worth a trade. So here we have the again the lower time frame candlestick trend joining to enter the higher time frame swing trend, which is what's designated by this massive downward ascending trend line here. So we can even look at the internals of those 3 15-minute candles there if we drop down to the 1 minute chart. So drop down to the 1 minute, and between those two vertical green lines, dotted lines, you will see the downward trend, high, low, lower high. It's made a lower low there. We could even look at the line chart and you can see it clearer. High, low, lower high. Once we've broken this low here, you've got a lower low. That means your trend is in place. That means you can draw the descending trend line if you want to. And you can even, because this low was broken by this low here before we entered, the lower high, we could then join that trend line there, there. Um, and that's it. That's the trend within the massive big trend that gets you into the trade. That's what we're doing. That's what we do all the time. Let's go back on that 15-minute chart. And well, we didn't look at the 5-minute chart, did we? But not really necessary. But you can see the trend there, that downtrend, high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high. It's broken the low of that one, so that's another even more of a trend. That's a continuation. So there's swing 1, 2, 3. That was swing 4, the pullback. Swing 5, the entry, as you can see, and had a little bit of sideways motion, but safe stop way up here, and 25 pips. And as you can see, it's done its stuff before 7 a.m. Let's put 7 a.m. on there. Excuse me. Actually, it didn't do it before 7 a.m. Excuse me. It did it on the 7 a.m. candle. How amazing is that? So yeah. So, but I was asleep at that stage anyway. So there you are. That's this morning's trade. Sorry for not making many more of these or regular, less regular videos. Apologies for that, but hopefully we'll get back on track at a later stage. But all the other videos, at least the ones without the CCI indicators, the early ones, show you time and time again the setup we use, and why we do, or why I do what I do. So hopefully that's helpful to you. Have a great day. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching, should I say.